Welcome back to the Burgman Broadcast. Today we have an incredible guest, chef owner of Brevard County's #1 steakhouse, according to the people. However, Florida Today thinks differently, and they came in at #2 to Texas Roadhouse. So read between the lines there. But Kevin, really interesting past, some incredible things that he's done in his life, and I'm just really happy that he's here to join us today. Quick highlights about Kevin. So he grew up in Brevard County, left to go to school, has a degree, so he's an educated chef, a collegiate level soccer player, and then spent some time in New York, then San Diego, and then came back, so what we call a boomerang, to Brevard County to start Ember Oak, which is an absolutely stunner of a steakhouse. I'll let Kevin kind of talk about it, but Kevin, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so
I'm only going to get up this early for a few people.
Yeah, you're not a morning person.
No, lots of coffee.
But we've got coffee, so we're good on that. I made the joke about the Texas Roadhouse thing. Didn't really plan on it coming out like that, but I mean, I think most people would agree that like if they see it, like earlier before the show, you had talked about like just being ranked was awesome. So let's talk about that a little bit. So you came in second, #2.
Yeah.
As far as just like a steakhouse in the county?
Yeah, so Brevard's best. It's the voters of Florida Today. There's a couple things you can read into. It's like who's really subscribing to Florida Today anymore. There's a certain age demographic that we don't really resonate with. Mm-hmm. Hence the name, like kind of our catchphrase, not your father's steakhouse.
Right.
And Brevard is a tough market for independent restaurants. It is what it is. I didn't think we'd even get in the top 3. I think it was Texas Roadhouse, us, and Longhorn.
Oh, shit.
We beat Outback. And nothing bad against all
No, those are great. I mean,
I eat it all.
You had talked about how they're great. I mean, I think they know their market, but like from a real like quality, handcrafted steakhouse, like it doesn't seem fair. It almost should be like 2 separate like rankings, like independent, like indie, and then
there probably should be. And it's as Brevard kind of grows and matures, and we have a bunch of people moving in from other places that have vibrant food scenes, and we just don't have that. And it's a challenge, and it's definitely a challenge with the size of Ember Oak and just kind of being what we are and the perceived cost of us. And it's hard to kind of get people to understand that most of our prices are meant for more than one person.
Right. Yeah. Share bowls, or what do you call them on the menu? Like,
yeah, just our steak boards, and we kind of like have share plates or vegetable focused dishes. But once people realize that, okay, the value and what I can eat for the price, if I don't go crazy and order a $300 bottle of wine, there is value there, and we can be competitive with anybody. And realistically, like the target of this restaurant was the likes of like Ruth Chris, Charlie's.
That's right.
All of those kind of just really masculine, old school white tablecloth steakhouses that I kind of feel are a thing of the past here very soon.
Yeah, and you kind of touched on it about being an independent restaurant, and specifically speaking on Brevard County, like there's not a lot of those, and you start seeing them maybe sometimes pop up, and then it just seems like it's really, really difficult for those restaurants to survive because we are surrounded by so many chains. So when you entered the county or came back to the county in 2018 and made that conscious decision to start a steakhouse, and it wasn't a small building. I mean, the former establishment was like a dance club. It's massive.
Yeah.
Like that's a huge undertaking. So like, what was the thought process of that?
It was an accident. Ember Oak wasn't actually supposed to happen. I always wanted to do the concept, but I was pretty happy in my life. Like I worked for Penn Mutual as a financial advisor, plenty of free time, which was great.
Yeah.
I transferred from the La Jolla office to the Boca office, because my ex wanted to move back to Melbourne and be closer to family. And I miss cooking, and I wanted to have something small to kind of have an office here locally. And then as an advisor, I mean, your business is networking, and you got to get in front of people and convince them to buy you. Like it's just like managing portfolios or insurance products or annuities or whatever. They could buy that from anywhere. They're buying you. Mm-hmm. And so what's kind of my bait to hook people? It was making them dinner. And so I wanted something small to where I could just pour some wine, cook some food, have a conversation about a different topic, whether it's saving for college, retirement, kind of best allocations for your 401k, stuff like that. And so I was looking for something small, and then Ryan and Garrett at Engel and Volkers were getting kind of, I think, frustrated with me because I didn't like anything.
Yeah.
And they're just like, go talk to Carlo. Like, do you know the Lavella space? I'm like, of course I do. I don't have that kind of money. Like, I was just talk to him. He might be interested in something. So I pulled something out of my ass. I just kind of said, give me 18 months. This is what I'll pay you. I want this much to go towards the principal. If I can't figure this out in 18 months, you can take it back.
Yeah.
And he said yes on the spot, took a risk on me. And then me and my buddy Donnie looked at each other and went, oh shit.
What are we going to do?
We got the keys 7 days later, and then we had to figure it out with almost no money, which the community's been very patient with us. I think it's easy to see a space like that, as expensive as it is, and kind of some of the nice things we've gotten, and the remodel at this point and go, okay, they have serious financial backing.
For sure.
We don't. We've pretty much, I took out personal loans. My partner, Mike, gave me his father's inheritance that he got, which was like $100,000. Mm-hmm. Donnie took out some loans, and then we bootstrapped everything. We just opened up, and that's why there was patio furniture in the restaurant from day one, and the community has kind of seen it evolve, and it's going to continue to evolve because anything we make, we just put right back in to the space because we want this community to have something great.
Yeah, and I think the risks that you take to do that, like it goes to tell about, you as a person, also like passionate about cooking. I didn't know the story about your initial idea of kind of like a small scale networking way to kind of like, it's a different way to bring in people. I'm like, hey, I'm going to cook you a badass steak and wine and dine you, and then tell you a little bit about financial advising. But that plan, it's like now you have like a quadruple size the space of what you probably initially intended on. Yeah. But I mean, if you look at other, even close to Brevard County, like as close as Orlando, Jacksonville, Miami, all these surrounding areas, like there's a plethora of these steakhouses. And it is pretty interesting that in Brevard, like there wasn't really anything until you guys came around that's notable, like worth mentioning, like high quality, not only food, but like the space, the ambiance, the patio, the bar, so because I can remember during the pandemic, restaurants were shut down. You guys got really creative and you did some things. What were you like? What was the idea behind that?
Yeah, let's relive that nightmare.
But it was cool, man. It was. I just love your ability to sort of like, you react, but in a really positive manner, and you were able to kind of make the best out of a really, really awful situation.
I will say, and I guess I had very tough parents, so I guess resilience is one of my strong points, and just getting up after you get knocked down the next day and just shaking it off and going, here we go, like we got to do this. To be fair, I was kind of a little more prepared than most people for the pandemic. My sister and her husband they were traveling in Asia kind of when it was starting. My dad's a vice president for a German company, so he was talking to his distributors in Italy when they were going through lockdowns. So as everybody kind of said, oh, it's not coming here, they're like, well, what if it comes here? So I prepared and we worked kind of behind the scenes on what do we have here? Like if everybody's locked at home, who's at home? Like the average family, what do they want? And we became pretty much Cheesecake Factory to go.
Yeah.
We were everything for everyone. We were grocery, we were kids' school lunches, we were brunch boxes, we were a liquor store. And we pivoted. Like we shut down, we took a day, got over 1,000 items up live on the website the next day. And then our servers became our delivery drivers. The cooks kind of stayed, and we just did our best. And the community supported it, and it was great. Like we're still here because of that and your support, Brevard County. So thank you. And then we kind of had to stop the deliveries when the insurance agent said, hey, what happens if your server hits somebody?
Yeah.
Your restaurant's going to go away. Here's how much the insurance costs. I was like, well, that's not worth it. We're done now. Let's open up and be a restaurant again. And luckily Florida, not to get into politics or anything like that, because I'm not interested in it.
Yeah.
We were able to kind of open up sooner, and we did as best we could to be safe. And here we are.
Yeah. I thought it was a really good option to have the food, to have like the pre-packaged kits, and then also like the booze. Cause you do have a super eclectic, just plethora of whether it's liquors, even wines. And it was funny, like one of the hobbies that Kevin had put on this sheet was like bourbon. So like you've curated some really interesting stuff, and I know your bar manager, she's all about it. I mean, what's the thought process behind having some really interesting spirits and wines to kind of parlay with the steakhouse?
Yeah, so it's just as important as the food. These producers and these winemakers and these distillers, they pour their heart and soul into what they do, and it's not fair to just use the big guys. And that is the thing. It's a challenge in Brevard County, like we talked about the chain restaurant culture.
Yeah.
My wife, who's the wine director and sommelier, she's fighting that battle every day, that we've had to put Camus on the menu and Vouv and all of and like Jack Daniels and kind of Tito's vodka.
And you didn't want to?
We did in the beginning. We didn't have any of that. And then during COVID, there was a shift. Just people, I think, became a little more vocal and brazen about things, and they got aggressive. So we brought it all in, and we kind of shifted the entire different direction with that. And now everything's kind of back to normal. And we're really pushing to be the restaurant that we want to be. And if we're going to achieve what we want, then the wine program needs to be at a certain level. The cocktail list and our spirits program needs to be at a certain level. And I'm fortunate enough to be married to somebody who's overly qualified to curate a list that's super unique. I mean, we have wines. She's picked in like wines from Mexico and Switzerland, and just her Syrah category. It's great. It's amazing to watch her work. Like, I'm passionate about it, and just seeing how much effort and time she puts into just selecting the producers, tasting. I mean, if you want to have an overwhelming day, just go to a wine tasting with her. And
yeah, Dana is incredibly knowledgeable, talented, and like knows her shit. And I thought that was really awesome how you guys kind of like merged your businesses together, made her part of, the whole wine experience at Ember Oak. But then you guys also have your wine program that you have, where I mean, I was just talking about it the other day, because like you can go and get these other wine kits and you kind of pick out, I don't want that. I want someone like knows me and like can pick it out. Like, I have no idea what I'm going to get, and I love that. And that's what you and Dana have like curated for people that want that. I'm sure there is an opportunity for people to be more vocal about it, but I love the fact that like Dana's like, I know Shane, I'm going to pick out some shit that he's either going to love or like be interested in, and then I want the feedback.
Yeah, I mean, there's potential too to go even deeper in that with, and Donnie and I have talked about an app. It's just for the wine members where we can kind of get that data and feedback and build this customized experience for our club members. But she's incredibly busy, and I don't want to overwhelm her because she does own her own wholesale company.
Yeah.
So she does that full time. Then she does the restaurant thing full time. She curates the wine thing full time. And then there's a little bit of time for us at night when we're both exhausted.
Yeah. And she's a combat vet.
And
so
she's a combat
big
vet.
Shout out to military folks.
Yeah.
I love all that about it, man.
Former law enforcement FBI. I was pretty sure I was under some sort of criminal investigation when we met.
She's way out of your league.
Yeah,
There's no way she
you
was
undercover. What did I do? The government's after me.
Yeah. So you kind of touched on like the balance of like your life. So it's like one of the things in here, and I'll read it. Actually, I didn't even read your intro, man. I got to read that. I skipped right over that. So Kevin, I have the guests fill out a form, and Kevin made me laugh on this one. So I asked him how would he like to be introduced, and he said, my current man crush, Monday, and the chef owner of Ember Oak. And I was like, all of that is pretty much true. But then kind of going through it a little bit, like you talk about your work-life balance, and then if you could give yourself financial advice, and it was kind of like financial advice to yourself was don't buy a restaurant.
Yeah.
And then you talk about how like your life, like the balance is off, right?
It sucks.
Yeah.
And it's a challenge in the industry. And I mean, it is pretty high profile, not to say we're even anywhere in the same class as a restaurant like Noma. But he's shutting down his number one restaurant in the world, 3 Michelin stars. It's just, you can't have both and be at that level. Excuse me. It's just, the hours are tough. The lifestyle's tough. It's stressful. And just being able to find a way where you can get away. I haven't figured it out yet. I don't really know if anybody has. And I'm 40 this year and don't have kids, and it's intentional because I don't know how I could do what I do with kids. And there are chefs that that do it and have families, but
it's like it consumes a lot. And I mean, it's another testament to like your passion with it, but it just kind of shows also like it can kind of take over some things. And I'm sure it's really hard to find a companion in your life, like a partner, Dana, to be able to like sort of tolerate that. Cause I can only imagine like how difficult it would be on a relationship.
It's tough. It's still an adjustment phase for her because she's not coming from the industry.
Yeah.
She's still getting used to the hospitality industry. She's coming from the military and the FBI. Like that's a different world. It's a lot of structure.
Yep.
You have people who are committed and they're focused, and you can count on them and rely on them. And it's just the restaurant industry is just not that. It's at its best, it's organized chaos. Yeah. At its worst, it's just a shit show, just a dumpster fire.
Yeah. I've worked in restaurants before, not at like your level, but I'm talking chains, and it was just I could tell like the lifestyle. I remember it was one of my first jobs in high school. I was a busboy, and then I would also have to make the chips at this place. But for some reason, like the older servers would invite me to like these parties after the restaurant closed, and I think the restaurant closed around midnight. This is back in Tucson, Arizona. It was a Mexican restaurant, and you'd go there, and it would be like everyone. It would be all the servers, the chefs, the hostesses, and it was just like these people would drink their faces off and like party. And I'm like young. I'm like, I'm not prepared for all of this, but the sense of camaraderie I really appreciate about it. So even though like chaotic in the workspace, it does feel like everyone is like a family. And I know you've curated something like that with Ember Oak.
Yeah. The team is the most important thing. And just having like-minded individuals that kind of share the same vision and the passion is super important, because if you don't, it's very easy to just have a fractured environment. And there have been times, and I'm sure our guests have seen the life cycle of the restaurant, where we didn't have a great culture. And there were people that really didn't fit or didn't care, didn't want to be there. And you need everybody, because it's very easy for one little thing to screw up the entire experience. And that's the pressure. Like I tell the staff a lot, it's like, listen, like our job's really not that difficult or important. We're not curing cancer. We're not sending people into space. We're cooking people dinner, but those memories that we're a part of now, they're important. And the restaurant we are in this community, people are celebrating with us a lot. Like this is for some, we're not in Miami or Orlando where there's just a huge level of high net worth individuals, where this is an every Monday or Tuesday kind of place, which is challenging in and of itself. But when you're cooking under the pressure of, okay, we've been pinching our pennies, one time a year we can come to this restaurant, and the expectations they have, and
they want that experience.
Yeah. And we have to be there and give it to them, and just understand and be empathetic to like how big of a jump it is for them to be in the building, and just care about that. And the group we have now is great.
Yeah. I think being aware of that too is important, because there's a lot of things I don't think people realize about, like when you say you're a chef, people are probably like, oh, like he cooks the food, like what else is to it? But then like when you add into the layer of like owner, and then you're also like curating all the meals, and you're putting all this together, you're managing the people. Like I know you have staff that helps with that, but like you're doing the interviews and hiring and firing, and like there's a lot of more to it than just the cooking. So I can imagine it's so many responsibilities, man. It's got to be.
Yeah. And I mean, I have a certain reputation in this community with people, and it's not always the best one.
Yeah. But you're a guy that speaks speaks without his mind. And
I'm going to be honest with you, no matter what. Like, you're going to get one thing from me. There's no fluff. There's none of that. But at the end of the day, it's just like I care about the people who help me achieve this. And I talk about this with my staff and team, that don't take me personally. I have one of my best friends in the world, and I'm just lucky that he's finally back with me. Kyle, who was with me at Trend and now formerly at 28 North, he built that business from scratch. He's the good guy. He's the nice one. Yep. He's the one that's going to talk to you about your feelings. But I'm literally laser focused on our guests, and that's what I'm here for. Like we're here for you, and it took my ego a long time to realize, like, I'm not cooking for me.
Yeah.
I'm cooking for you. It's your meal. If you want to put fucking ketchup on a well-done $200 steak, I'm going to cook the steak well done, give you ketchup and smile and say thank you for coming. Like, I'm not going to judge you. It's not my place. It's not my money.
Right.
I didn't work hard for it. I'm honored you're here to spend that with us. And we get to feed our families and keep our lights on because of you.
Yeah.
So I think the industry gets a bad rap because chefs just kind of no substitutions. This is that. They're yelling.
This is how I want it. I've made it for you. Like, how dare you disrespect my?
That's bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm just going to tell you that's bullshit. And any chef who does that, he doesn't really understand what we do and what hospitality is. And he couldn't, or he or she, couldn't do it without you. Like, we need you to cook for us, we need you so we can cook for you.
Yep.
So it's just, there's some really great chefs that beat that out of me at a pretty early age, and just smile and say yes and do our best. And if we can't accommodate, offer suggestions to something similar and just remove the ego from the process.
Yeah. I mean, it's the highest level of hospitality. It sounds like you guys are trying to create there.
Yeah.
Something that, I mean, this is kind of random, but do you think you in like 2 minutes could tell me how to cook the best steak of my life? Like if I'm going to cook it. Yeah. You could?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Get really good meat.
Really good meat.
Really just,
where should I get it?
I mean, there's a lot of great markets. Wassey's has a really great selection.
I think Kreiderman's just did like
Kreiderman's has a meat market. Erjan, who's a very dear friend, he's opening Urban Prime.
Yeah,
in Vieira,
right at the Avenue.
Incredible.
Was he with that Green Turtle?
He was at the Green Turtle. Yeah. So if anybody, I told him this yesterday actually, when I saw him, and I was just super excited for him. If anybody can break the chain culture in Vieira, it's that guy. Yeah, and it's tough.
The locals are really excited about that.
Yeah, and like kind of circling back to that chain culture, and then I'll finish up on how you cook your perfect steak. I get it from an owner operator perspective. You're risking a lot of money, or you're risking your partner's money, and it's hard in this town to get the staff who's willing to do it and work for it, because it's very easy for $1 or $2 less an hour. You can just open up a bag and throw it in a fryer, and just not have to meticulously prep everything from scratch every single day. Or from a service standpoint, you can go somewhere where the menu's literally this. You can get the same mahi Reuben and smoked fish dip at 20 different restaurants, so you don't really have to care about the menu. And the wine list is Camus and Vouv and Michael David and all of these things, Oren Swift.
It's like a comfortable lane.
So you don't have to know anything. You don't have to study. You don't have to research. You don't have to be a guide for somebody for their experience. You don't have to be a salesperson and put in the effort. So I get why nobody wants to really take the risk. And I'm very happy that we do have some amazing entrepreneurs in this town that are trying to move us forward and away from the chains. And hopefully with everything going on from an engineering, kind of aerospace, all of this and technology standpoint we have in here, that we can kind of up our game like the community is and grow with Brevard. Yeah. And become like a destination is for Florida. We're one of the fastest growing cities, I think, in the country. So I think every other thing needs to step up, because it's important for a really healthy city to have a vibrant food scene and an art scene. And
why do you think Brevard hasn't made that yet? And we will get to how to cook your perfect steak. That's a selfish question, so I'll make sure he answers it.
We don't have enough talented hospitality professionals. So at this level, to kind of get there, it has to be your career. Like, this is what you do. You're proud of it. You're passionate about it. And it's your life. And a lot of not to knock the people who come in and out of the hospitality industry, they're just paying for school, not to say anything poorly about them, but why would they put in the time and the effort to really up their game or be in a kitchen 15 hours a day or spend hours upon hours studying menus and taking tests and doing all of these other things, getting sommelier certifications, or really going down a rabbit hole of mixology and learning how to do all the really, really cool things that you need to do. So I don't think we have enough people. So we're all, the few restaurants that are here, we're all fighting for the talent. For the same talent.
Wow.
And until we can move or kind of build up and create this talent, we're going to struggle to really have the number of restaurants who are really ready to take the big step forward. And take the risk, because it's big money behind it.
Do you see that changing in the immediate future, or what's like your projection on that?
I think 5 years.
We'll see a lot more. You're saying independent and kind of crafted.
I think so, and I think it's going to take kind of somebody really putting the food scene on the map. And I don't want to say I'm that somebody, but the goal now that Michelin is in Florida we're kind of shrinking what Ember and Oak is at its core, the seating capacity to make it smaller so we can go for that Michelin star.
Before, can you explain what Michelin is for guests that might not understand?
It is the tire company.
Yep.
So back in the day, it was a fun guide for the traveling salesman to kind of have for themselves. And it's like, hey, I'm in San Francisco. Where do I eat? And it was their rating system for restaurants. And over time, it became the end-all, be-all to where literally like chefs kill themselves if they lose a star. Like that's a thing where
wow.
It was kind of shunned upon to go for a star for a while just because of the pressure and what you had to do to achieve it, the level. 3 stars is the best, and that's the entire experience. Like it is a life-changing experience to eat at a place like Noma. And it's going to be a life-changing experience for your bank account too.
Yeah. Because once you get that, it kind of puts you on the map from the Michelin score. And then more people probably, I imagine there's people that travel to just experience these Michelin-rated restaurants. And then as far as we know, I mean, you know this, there is not a Michelin-rated restaurant in Brevard County?
No. So Florida, it was very easy for me to give up on that quest of being a Michelin-starred chef when I moved back to Florida, and just, they're not here. I don't have to care.
Yeah.
No pressure. I can do whatever I want, and it's fine. I'm done with that part of my life. I'm getting older. I don't want to work the hours. I don't want to be the person that I need to be to kind of achieve that, because younger me was not the nicest person at the Trend Kitchen to kind of focus. And when that was like literally like eat, what's the saying? Eat, slept, and breathed.
Yeah.
That goal.
Yep.
And it's why I sold Trend and moved to New York.
People still talk about Trend. I mean, when you were working there, just like, and that's been, I don't even know,
8 years.
A decade almost. Yeah.
Yeah. 8-9 years since we opened it. It's wild.
Yeah. But that's how I think a lot of people, when you came back, knew you from that.
Yeah. And so here we are. Michelin came to Florida last year. They went to Tampa, Orlando, and Miami. Those are the only cities they're in. They'll kind of grow as they're here longer. And a couple restaurants, like I think 10 or so restaurants got a star in Miami. I think 1 or 2 got 2 stars. And a couple got 1 star in Orlando. Tampa, I think, got shafted.
Nothing?
They got some Bib Gourmands, which are recommended restaurants.
Is it like a participation trophy in the Michelin space?
Yeah, but the one in particular, like I worked for him when I was in Tampa. He's a rock star. It's Chef Farrell at Rooster in the Till. Oh, he deserves one.
Yeah,
he'll get one, and I couldn't be happier. And somebody doesn't deserve it more than him. And then hopefully we'll build enough kind of momentum and get enough press and kind of prove to the community and the food world that we're worthy, and that they should come check us out. And then when they're here doing their rounds, they do a random inspection. You don't know they're coming. You just kind of know when they're going to be here.
Okay. Geez. So they just tip you off, say, hey, there's a possibility in the next couple of weeks
Michelin's going around Florida and doing their private, like their secret shopping, pretty much is what they do. And then you got to hope that you kill it. And then they do their tabulations in the back, and they have a big award ceremony, and you get the news if you get a star or not.
Shit.
So hopefully in a couple of years we'll get to a point where we can really feel like we're going to be worthy of being recognized, and we're kind of shifting focus to doing everything we need to do that. So I'm changing the menu. We're going to add a chef's tasting menu. My wife is creating a dynamite list, up the cocktail program game, and just keep pushing forward and really trying to be what I feel a steakhouse should be, which is just like an ode to the cow.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, pescatarians and vegetarians and vegans, the chef's tasting menu will not be for you.
Right.
It's literally going to be, we're going to take you through the nose to the tail of the cow, and we're going to have a conversation in cow with you, and we're going to show you different breeds of cow, different types of feed for cow, different regions, and what that climate means to the cow. So it's like kind of thinking about the animal as you would think about wine. Which I will give some credit to the inspiration of that to Dana. And just it's important. Nobody really does that with beef. It's just like, we're a steakhouse. Here are our cuts of steak. We have a ribeye. We have a Kansas City strip. It's prime or it's choice. We don't know where it's from because it's commodity. We don't know what it's probably Black Angus.
Yeah.
It's most likely corn fed from the Midwest, and that's all we care about. But there's a lot more to that. And I think when you go single source, and you know what the feed is, and then there's a bunch of different breeds. Like there's Black Angus, there's Aberdeen Angus, there's Wagyu, there's hybrids, Black Angus Wagyu mixes. You can feed it grass and finish on corn. You can go all grass. You can go all corn.
That's crazy to think. Like, what, the thought of a farmer feeding the cow to change the outcome of the meat.
Yeah, and then even after the animal is killed, there's a bunch of things and factors. There's a farm in Pennsylvania that dry ages the whole carcass of the animal, which is super different and interesting. There's farms that wet age beef, and we kind of get it in, and it's wet aged in the
What is wet aged?
They let it sit in its juices in the cryovac bag for like 4 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
So most beef you get is wet aged to some extent.
Okay.
And then you can take that product and then dry age it from that point. And you can koji age it, which is a Japanese technique, which is rice that's inoculated with a bacteria that gives it some funk. So there's all these really cool things that you can do that we're going to kind of let you experience through a curated chef's tasting menu that we've been working on. And we've been like sourcing meat like crazy. My cholesterol's probably fucked at this point.
I'm hungry just thinking about it. But there's no one else doing that.
No, I don't think so. And it's hard to ever be like, I'm the first.
No.
I'm sure somebody's thought of it. Like, there's no real original ideas anymore.
But execution is a whole another game.
Yeah, and we care. So I'm really excited for that.
And also, so what the journey that you would take a guest through, going back to the Michelin thing. So that's like one component of it, but it's also like the experience, the ambiance, the servers, like the service.
Yeah.
So all of that, which like I can't even imagine the level of like planning, operation, and stress that comes to get that. And so when we'll say you are the first person in the county in the history of Brevard County to ever receive a Michelin rated ranking, whether it's 1, 2, or 3 stars, does that always stay with you, or each year it has to renew?
So each year it renew, and hence going back to kind of the suicide thing. If you lose a star, that restaurant's going away.
It goes out
most likely, and because the perceived value in the restaurant is gone from the guest. Oh, this was a 1-star restaurant. It lost its star. The food must not be as good.
Oh my gosh!
Why should I go spend the money? I'm going to go to another restaurant that got a star. And so the pressure, you had a time where chefs were literally committing suicide if they lost a star.
I can imagine, because it's like they view it like they're no longer worthy, and like their business is going to go under. That's fucking nuts. I didn't think about it from that angle.
So yeah, it's every year. It's constant pursuit of perfection. The 1-star is kind of where I want to go. I don't want the pressure and what you kind of have to do for that 2-star. And no fault of it. Those restaurants are amazing, and those people who dedicate themselves to do it, mad respect. Just getting too old, and I don't want to do it. And I enjoy saying "fuck" on our menu and giving you the little wooden fuck in the drink, and having fun music playing, and just kind of having a good time in the restaurant, and that's important to me. And at the 2 and 3 level, it's precision. It's
got to be precision, sharpshooting. Everything. You're
perfect. Like to an inch. There's rulers being taken out to measure silverware from distances, how they clear your plate, how they set your plate, how they're pouring your wine glass, like your wine in your glass, like everything you can possibly think of, like what the check presenter looks like, having tea service that you may or may not order, like just all of those things. So
that's like the other side of getting that rating that comes with the territory of, that sounds nuts.
But just full circle.
Yeah, back into the steak.
You get a Michelin star restaurant in this town. I think people start coming to work in Melbourne and be like, okay, the food scene is here, and I want to go live somewhere beautiful. Like, this is a gorgeous town.
Yep.
And I can now work at restaurants that are at this level that share my passion and drive, and I can learn something. So you're going to start getting the people.
The talent that you talked about earlier. So so then it almost becomes like a gold rush. Like other restaurants are going to want to get in on it.
Because they're here. They're coming to Melbourne. So let's go for it too. And there's chefs that are talented enough to get a star in this town. It's just they need to be recognized, and they need to know that it's possible, to give them that like little nudge forward.
Wow.
to do it.
I really hope that is you guys. Like, I'd love to see that happen, because I know you've put in years of sacrificing not only time and relationships, but, just everything for the restaurant industry is tough, man. You've definitely put the time in.
It's a dogfight.
It's a dogfight.
But back to your purpose.
Yeah, speaking of dogfight, can you...
So good meat.
Good meat. So we got some sources on that. Should I not get meat from, let's call it like a Publix, or is there...
No disrespect, Publix, you have different ones that'll carry prime beef.
Okay.
Or really good choice. Just kind of look at the marbling. That's what you're looking for. Fat is good.
Okay, fat is good.
Fat is flavor. You want it to look like our tables, like the red ones.
Okay.
Just all of that
Marble,
vein and like all the lines.
Is there a specific cut I should be looking for?
I'm a ribeye guy. Like, that's kind of
There's more fat in the ribeye?
Yeah. You get all that flavor and beefy goodness, but can't go wrong with a good strip.
Okay.
Tenderloins are tough. People love them. They're super tender, but they don't have a ton of flavor.
Yeah, because it's like pure muscle, right? There's not a lot of fat on the...
Yeah.
Is the tenderloin the back strap, or is that a different...
It's a different...
Okay.
Yeah. But I'd go a really nice ribeye, and then just get it to room temperature. Mm-hmm. Salt. Don't put any pepper on it before you're just going to burn the pepper.
Okay.
The salt helps you kind of dry out the moisture of the steak, so you get a really nice crust. I'm always going to say cook it over wood or wood charcoal, because that's what we do. Like, I don't think there's anything...
The open flame is what...
No, you don't want open flame.
Okay.
Because you're going to get like the soot and the black and the burnt taste. You want to develop a really nice coal bed.
Okay.
So it's really hot, and you'll get some flare-ups, and that's fine. And then everybody kind of teaches you, don't touch the steak, don't move it around.
Okay.
On open flame, you kind of have to, and kind of find your hot spots, and then get your sear, then flip it and let it kind of slow cook and develop the flavors and break down the fat and some of the connective tissue. And then whatever your preferred temperature is, that's the thing. I think medium rare is the best way to eat a steak. I think rare, you're not cooking it enough, and it's kind of chewy, and you don't get the flavor as much. And then if you go medium, you're kind of losing too much of the integrity of the steak just by cooking it. But that's my opinion.
Yeah.
No opinion's wrong. It's your meal. It's your dinner.
So just the salt on it, and that's where that crust comes from. And do you put that on there when you're setting it to room temp? Yeah,
I'll salt it before and kind of dry, because it being dry is what gets the crust. And that's why it's like, if you get dry aged beef, the crust you're going to get on a grilled dry aged steak is incredible. And that's just because the moisture's really gone from it. And it's a different experience. But yeah, if you're doing it at home, you don't have dry aged beef, just salt it, let it sit out, kind of pat it, dry a little bit, and then get on the grill, finish it with a little butter, salt, and some pepper at the end, and you're good to go. Let it rest for 10 minutes after you pull it off. Mm-hmm. No less than 5.
And that's it. That's
it.
Wow. I'm going to go do that tonight.
Yeah. Like I said, what we
Trade secrets.
What we do
taking notes, Alex? You got that?
What we do is not hard, and I'll tell the cooks this. I don't think that anything is unachievable in the kitchen. What you really have to do is give a shit.
Yeah.
And not take shortcuts, because it's not rocket science. Like, we're cutting vegetables and meat and making stocks and sauces, and there's recipes for everything. It's time and effort, and then repetition, and you just get better at it. And you can be blessed with a really good palate or not. Like, that's kind of something that you're born with. And I think that will help one way or another if you're planning menus and building dishes and creating. But to cook food, it's not difficult.
Yeah.
Anybody can do it.
Like you said, you just have to give a shit.
You have to give a shit, yeah.
In closing on this experience, is there anything else, like, on the future horizons for Ember Oak that you would want to talk about? I mean, we know you're on the hunt for the Michelin star. Am I saying that right? It sounds like I'm saying, okay. The hunt for the Michelin star. Hunt for Michelin, which would be fucking incredible. But is there anything else, like, on the horizon you'd want to talk about with Ember Oak? Maybe something for the guests that they can look forward to?
I think the new menu and the tasty menu is going to be really exciting.
Okay.
Some of the new dishes are starting to go live. Like, I'm really pumped. I love beef Wellington. It's kind of, I think the first article, like, talked about my love for beef Wellington. But at the end of the day, it's
not an easy thing to make either.
No, and it's made with tenderloin, so it's like the flavor. You're getting most of your flavor from the mushroom and the prosciutto and the mustard, and then the meat's just kind of there.
Yeah.
So this, I will give Kyle credit. It was his idea. He did it, I guess, with short rib at 28 North for a special one time. I was like, okay, this is cool.
Wow.
But short rib, you have to do a lot to it
because it gets real tender, right, when it's cooked out.
Yeah,
like almost shreddable.
Just so it can maintain itself, it doesn't fall apart, but it's still a thing. So we sourced some Wagyu out of Texas. Beautiful, like beautifully marbled short ribs. Then we koji age it for 3 days.
That's the rice thing you're talking about?
Yeah,
the fungus?
Yeah, each koji, you get a different flavor profile. The one we found, you get like buttered popcorn notes. So it's wild. And it just intensifies the beefy flavor that you get, which short ribs is already super intense.
Yeah.
So it's koji aged. Then we sous vide it for 36 hours, 36 to 48 hours at 135 degrees. So it's super tender. It's cooked all the way through, but it maintains a nice, beautiful red center. Take it, portion it, then traditionally wrapped. So duxelle, mushroom, prosciutto, put it in the puff pastry, throw a lattice over it, and then cook it in the oven for 30 minutes. And then what you get is beef Wellington that you can cut with a butter knife or a spoon, and that has intense, really beefy flavor. It's really cool. So that's one of the new dishes. But like I said, the whole menu is going to change.
It's ridiculous.
And then I think within the next 2 or 3 months, we'll have the tasty menu ready to go just as an option.
So the one where we can taste through the cow.
Yeah.
That's going to be cool.
Yeah, but you'll be able to do certain things on the menu. Like we're moving, which we've gotten some pushback on it. We're moving to the QR code.
For the menu on the table?
For the menu on the table.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's cool, man.
Most other cities, it's fine and there's no pushback.
Yeah.
I get it. We take a little longer to accept things here. But
so you're saying the clients are pushing back?
Yeah. They want the menu. You're too expensive for me to look on my phone or an iPad that you give us. I don't want to do that. We try and keep phones off the dinner table, all of these things. And it's like, it's fair.
Yeah.
But we can't change our menu as often as we'd like. And we can't source
because of cost of like print costs and
print costs. Yeah. Otherwise we'd have to raise prices even more. And the perceived cost of Ember Oak is already the most expensive restaurant in Melbourne. So we've been doing everything we can to not raise prices. And we're spending $1,000+ a month just printing our own menus and just with all the changes. And that's
an expense. I don't think I would never consider that.
People don't understand it. And why I wrote, if as my financial advisor self, don't open a restaurant is because the margins suck. People think restaurant owners are making a ton of money. Best case scenario, 10%.
Wow.
Unless you're a bar, like bars will make.
That's where your cash is made.
Yeah, you make the money in the booze, but fine dining restaurants, especially Michelin rated restaurants, they don't really make money. They're there for either they have a beneficiary or a very rich owner who's like, I don't care, tax write-off, I want the status, or it's the flagship of a group, and everybody knows, okay, well, this is a Michelin star group. They've done this chicken restaurant. So this place must be badass. I'm going to go here. And then that chicken restaurant's where you're making your 10, your 15% because your food cost is much lower and you can charge a little bit more because people understand that the quality's there.
Yep.
So it's these little things, $1,000 a month in printing, it adds up.
Yeah.
It's like, there's not a lot of money to be made in restaurants. You do it cause you love it.
But those margins suck.
The margins suck.
Jeez, man. I learned a lot. And I appreciate your time today. Appreciate you educating me on how to make a steak, and hopefully anyone else listening, watching implements what you've taught, because I think that's great. If you guys have not been to Ember Oak, currently in downtown Melbourne, it is a massive restaurant. Ambiance inside is incredible. The exterior courtyard space, what do you call the
patio? The
patio space, just dynamite with your fire pits. Like for New Year's Eve, dude, the party you guys threw there was just
Derek
next level.
Like he kind of orchestrated this really.
It was fun, man.
Yeah, it was wild.
Yeah, that was awesome. But the space is there, the bar is there, the food is there. Kevin, the chef, is there always. But really appreciate you, man. Thank you for sharing your experiences today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And we'll have to do it again because there's a lot of things we didn't get to get into about Kevin's past. So we're gonna have to have him come back on. Yeah. So thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one.